and do a promposal dance where they say sorry for our almost genocide, and also the K-pop narwhals are there,
Yeah,
and they're.
Can we talk about Hyunsu, please?
I love the K-pop narwhals.
Hyunsu has abs.
Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Leyla.
And this week, we talk about the series finale of Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts. Before we team up with K-pop narwhals to deliver the best promposal ever, remember you can help us on Mortified the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter at MortifiedPod. Where to begin with Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts?
Well, before we get to Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts, sign up for our newsletter. It's coming. We're almost at the first of the month. I usually send it out around then. 1, 2. Before we get into the show, there's something happening in our fine nation of the United States of America that I feel like I could only really talk about with you, so I would like to take 45 seconds to delay the true end of Kipo. Listeners, I did not warn him I was going to be doing this, so this is raw off the cuff. Can we spend a second talking about the mysterious Utah obelisk?
I have seen posts about this on Twitter, but I have no idea about the Utah obelisk. Please enlighten me.
Okay, so there was, in Utah, this mysterious obelisk, steel obelisk on public land that just appeared. It's been there apparently for a little while, but no one knows who put it there, and no one knows how it got made, how it got there. Apparently it's like sheets of steel alloy riveted together, and it was just found like a week ago, just this mysterious obelisk in the middle of the Utah plateaus, I guess, mountains, on public land. And Aaron, it's gone.
Yeah, that's...
This shit was taller than, I think it was 3.5 meters tall. And it's gone.
Have I ever told you about my theory that we all live in a video game, like somebody's game of The Sims?
No, but please expand.
I just feel like, especially this year, it's felt like we've all lived in a very vindictive person's own, like, simulation game, where they're just like, what's a dumb thing I could do to fuck with the little sim people running around in my computer? How about okay, we gotta have a pandemic. Number one, gotta make their governments do some real dumb shit. And I just got the Aliens expansion pack, so let's test the waters in Utah, and then we're gonna just really kick it off here in the next cycle. And that's just how I felt about in 2020 especially, but the past 5 years of things just escalating in weirdness. It makes more sense to me that way.
Yeah, I feel like between this and that whole like the U.S. Navy says UFOs are real bullshit that happened, I don't know if you remember, exposed by the lead singer of Blink-182, I think, or some shit.
Yeah, I mean that sounds plausible.
Yeah. I just thought we like to time travel here on this podcast. We go back and forth between like the late 80s and present day, and sometimes we do some speculation about the near future. But I just, sometimes it's nice to date what's happening around us while we talk about shonen protagonists. Anyway, I just, I feel like you and I acknowledge that shit gets so goddamn weird, I couldn't help but, bring it up and just acknowledge that the obelisk is gone now.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be back. Don't worry.
That would be worse somehow.
Yeah, but, like, what else can we expect in this year, right?
That's true. Maybe a Mega Mute put it there, which is my transition to let's talk about this wonderful television program that you and I both enjoyed.
Yes. So me and Layla previously on this podcast we watched the first two seasons of Kipo, which detail the adventures of a young, um, half black, half Korean woman named Kipo Oak, who lives in the far-flung future of 2220, where she and a lot of other humans live underground. She previously was able to explore the surface world, make some friends, and discover that she's actually the result of a genetic experiment that allows her to turn into a super big, enormous pink jaguar. Um, and she has to stop the human doctor who turned her own mom into a super enormous big monkey, and her surrogate foster brother who wanted to turn everybody into gold. But anyway, this doctor woman, Dr. Amelia, is trying to ethnically cleanse all the sentient mutants by creating a quote unquote cure to remove their humanity or their sentience or whatever from them. And that's sort of the main crux of this season three is Kibo trying to figure out how to prevent all her new friends who are mutants from being wiped out. This show is rated Y7, and they handle some topics.
Yeah, so I don't know if I actually wrote it down in my notes. I know you did. But like you said, this show is rated Y7. Like, it is a kids show. And to that effect, it is funny, it is colorful, it's entertaining, there's music, it's got a good... The story is, like, easy enough to follow. You don't need to know a lot. There's not a lot of lore. They do a lot of really effective world building, but, like... Man, Amelia being trapped in her own head with, like, a sad Megamute version of herself behind her, that fucked a bitch up.
Just yeah, extremely dark. Like that whole final fight where Kipo is and her are like having that weird like mech battle, where they're having they're in their own heads in the clouds, and then like as Amelia starts to lose the battle, she starts drowning in her own mind, and then like she's just like up to her neck, and then she looks over, and there's this like big kaiju version of her just like weeping, just like so afraid of the human psyche that it's sharing a body with, and then she's just like whatever, and then she goes and then at the end, she still tries to stab Kipo to death with a glass shard. Like, it's so much. Kipo's 13!
Yeah, she really, like, pounded the shit out of this 13-year-old girl because Kipo also has, like, a brain water sequence, but she's always on the surface. She is anchored. She knows what she's doing. She knows how to go back and forth between being a mega and herself. But, like, there's just this shot that really stood out to me of, like, it was just a wide shot of Kipo getting flung back and forth by Amelia's punches, and she is all alone. I'm like, you are beating the shit out of a child. How do you, like, justify that in your brain?
Oh, well, I mean, her dad was clearly a white supremacist, just based on the beard alone.
Yo,
But
he literally just looked like an aged up version of that, like, the meme with the white dude with the slick, the blonde. It's drawn in, like, the style of a Pepe almost.
yeah, one of those, like, Chad dudes.
Yeah. Really just looks like that got older. She also killed her brother. That was a fun...
Yeah, like, we just got a completely out of nowhere flashback, like, oh yeah, by the way, Amelia had a brother, and then she murdered him. Like, are we gonna humanize her a little bit? Yeah, sure. But then we're also gonna completely undo all that work.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure in the beginning of that episode, she looked at a photo of herself and Liam, her brother, and it was like a motivator. And usually when characters do that, it's like, I'm doing this for you, for like a deceased loved one, relative, sibling, whatever. But we found out like 10 minutes later, Song was like, no, that bitch said some shit to me when I was a monkey. And guess what? He made friends with Brad of Ratland, which... Fucking press F to pay respects, Brad.
Oh my god, I'll have to talk about the deaths here in a bit.
Oh my god, that was the saddest one for me, I think, is Brad and Amy. But, she just, he got some cheese whiz from Brad, and she was like, no, you're gonna die. That's a crime punishable by death, is getting some cheese whiz from Ratland. Like...
It's
Some
so
characters
brutal.
are irredeemable.
Yeah, I know. And like there's a YouTuber that I watched a little video essay falling with style. And they like brought up that like yeah, it was probably a good choice that Emilia wasn't redeemable because like we very much did get not only did we get like her sabotaging Kipo's attempts at peace again and again, but we also got this sequence at the end where it's like yeah she tries to stab Kipo and then she gets sent to super hell with fucking Fun Gus who's gonna torture her for all eternity. Um, and then Kipo and Benson and Wolf are all standing there, and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess we could rescue her, right? But like, they choose not to." Like, Kipo could very much like they beat Fun Gus before. If she really wanted to, she'd be like, "No, we're definitely gonna save her." But like, they're like, "No, actually, you get 4 different times, and then it's no more." And I do appreciate that because it's like, yeah, like it shows that even Kipo, whose whole motivating and like character, you know, the whole core of her character is being friendly and trying to unite people and give people second chances. Um, even she's like, all right, that's enough. And I do appreciate that in like a kids show that's like you should try very hard to be kind to people, but also there is a point.
Yeah, there is certainly a point. And I think the Chevra sisters tried to predict that when they consulted the cheese, but
Mm-hmm.
also um you had it in your notes where Song and Leo, her parents, acknowledged, like, no, going after Amelia and kicking her ass is the right thing to do. It is not the right thing for this 13-year-old we're raising to do. So I think she went down in a very appropriate way, and Fungus is absolutely fucking terrifying. So,
Oh yeah,
you
very
know,
scary.
uh,
um,
as as Benson put it, she is now trapped forever with an immortal mute who wants nothing more than to be her best friend. So,
yeah, an extremely fitting punishment for somebody trying to do ethnic cleansing. So, uh,
yeah, and a murderer, like a straight
yeah,
up murderer.
yeah. God, there's just so much wild stuff in this show. Like, and I do appreciate the way that it brought in all sorts of corners of the last 2 seasons together in like this big grand finale. Like, and it worked with the themes of like people being friends and protecting each other and resolving millennia not millennia but centuries long differences in like a fairly healthy way like at the beginning, right? Let's talk about Scarlemagne, right? Because Scarlemagne is captured at the end of this season 2 and you know Kipo being the kind-hearted and happy-go-lucky kid that she is like, okay, hey, I know you did try to melt everyone and turn them into gold statues, but what you could do is say you're sorry. And then Scarlet Vane originally is just like, but I'm not sorry. I wanted to do that. And she's like, well, we'll work on you. And through the course of the season 3, like they make Scarlet Vane do community service. They make him help Song out when she's still a Mega Monkey, and my favorite sequence at the beginning was when he had to babysit all the little kittens and the tiny baby mutes, and like they did charades with him. That was really cute, and I love that. But like over the course of this season, you see Scarlemagne realize like, oh hey, Kipo actually is kind of great. Oh, what's the quote that like when him and Wolf are trying to go assassinate Emilia, basically they have this team up and they're looking around and they're talking about Kipo and what do they say? He finally gets to this point where he's like, I do regret a lot of the things I did. I for my own ambitions. I mean, I know I've been hurt, but for my own power play, I missed out on a lot. I missed out on the family I could have had. I didn't get to grow up with Kipo, and then Wolf is like, well, why'd you throw that all away? And he's like, I wanted power. Who doesn't? And then they both go like, Kipo. And he says that girl would find a reason to befriend a broom, which is like so funny and like it's just I can't believe a show that is designed for fucking 7-year-olds goes into this sort of like trauma that comes with like betrayal and also has jokes about your estranged sister being so friendly she'd hang out with brooms like I can't believe this show.
I mean, like, Scarlemagne and Wolf are probably like my favorite development of this season too, because they're just so fucking funny together. Like, They start out completely not trusting each other, which is very fair. Again, Scarlamagne did try to make everyone a gold statue. That's very rude and unlikable. But they do team up, and at some point they're decorating the float, and someone steals the paint bucket and the ladder, and and then eventually the float, and they're both like, "It's Amelia for sure." And Scarlamagne says, "We have a saboteur in our midst," and Wolf doesn't know what a saboteur is, so she just spends the next 4 times calling it Sabater, and it drives him so fucking crazy. It is the funniest thing they could have put on television for me. Like, it was so incredible, and then it dissolves into this, like, I think the thing I appreciate the most about the show, and, like, the thing that maybe makes it more fun for, like, the Y7 audience is just the raw chaos of it sometimes, because 2 squirrels did steal a float, and the squirrels do have short-term memory loss like I've never seen before.
I hated the squirrels personally. I thought they were really a wild introduction into like the last half of this series. Just like, hey, we're gonna throw these random characters in there for no reason. And I mean, the reason is like they probably just had to stretch it out for 10 episodes. So like, I understand why they introduced the treasure squirrels. But at the end of that sequence, they have this prom, which is like it's one of Kipro's ridiculous acronyms. It's basically just like, hey, we should have a humans and mute conference to talk about how we're sorry for doing bad things to each other. And the way that they get the mutes to come to prom, quote unquote, is by building this float and having all the humans come out of it and do a promposal dance where they say sorry for our almost genocide, and also the K-pop narwhals are there, and
yeah, Can we talk about Hyunsu, please?
I love the K-pop narwhals.
Hyunsu has abs and eyeliner, and he blows little heart bubbles, and I love it.
He's so funny when he is captured. Doug like is like trying to figure out where, because he's just singing in his cell. And she goes down to find him on the boat, and she's like, "Oh wow, my magical space or angel voice. I knew it was you all along." And she's like, "Why are you crying?" And he's like, "I'm not crying. I just have a sad face." Fucking Narwhal BTS is my favorite thing. It's
Narwhal
so
BTS
funny.
They're so fucking funny, and the worst part is that Oceans of Love is catchy.
Oceans of Love fucking slaps. I've listened to that song 3 times today.
Oceans of Love is a bop. I would listen to it. If I can get it on my workout playlist, I will. It is so excellent. Like, the K-pop narwhals get introduced in episode, 2, I think, where they're performing, and I couldn't even process what I was watching for a little while, and when Hyunsu gets kidnapped, I was like, this is the biggest tragedy, because Amelia gets, the first, round of kidnappees is Jamak, which, fucking excellent. Excellent character. Jamak's opening solo in the first episode where he's singing about Kipo sent me places I didn't think I could go emotionally.
That frog's voice made me feel things.
Just a great one-off. It was Jamak, it was Boom Boom, who had to keep reminding Kipo was kidnapped.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he's not our friend. We have to make sure. He's not our friend, but he was kidnapped.
So we will save him. We gotta save our friends and Boom Boom. And it was Hyunsu, and I would commit crimes for Hyunsu, but I think I would commit a full-scale war atrocity for Doug, because her introduction into this season is to dance into the cafeteria where Kipo's hiding with her friends, ready to rescue these, and she just poses at the wall and goes, "Sing to me, wall siren," and I lost it, I think. I lost it and I never found it.
Oh my god. Doug is the runaway star here. She comes completely out of nowhere and then is just dancing throughout in the background through the whole season. And then at the end when her dad turns good and they all join into the K-pop song, and then he also starts doing these wild dances, and Kipo's like, that's where she gets it from.
Doug stays in a split the entire time Kipo was explaining Amelia's evil plot to her. Doug goes into a split, finds Kipo, and cuts away to a different scene in the lab, and then it cuts back to Kipo going, "And that's why Amelia's wrong!" And Doug is still in the fucking split. She is an angel. She is everything to me. I just a runaway performance. I would rewatch the season. I would do like just a Doge commentary watch of this season because she is truly. She does not stop dancing.
DreamWorks, release the Doge cut.
Right. Give me a Doge movie. Like, I know you mentioned there was going to be a Wolf movie at some point, maybe, or the writer was talking about it. Give me the Doge movie. Oh, just like Kronk's New Groove, but just a dance special.
Very, very similar, though. Let me think. How do you feel about... Okay, so this show commits the anime trope of ending on an epilogue. Now, I don't know if you consider epilogues to be good or bad. I generally think they're okay. It depends, but I think they're good, generally fine. How did you feel about like the main arcs of specifically like Benson and Dave and like Wolf? Like how did you feel about like not only the progression through the story, but also like where they ultimately ended up after the 5-year time skip?
First of all, I want Kipo's sick jacket.
That jacket looks cool as hell, and a lot of people have made customs of it. I'll send you some tweets.
Oh, please do, because they do a close-up on the back of that jacket, and, like, usually I hate, like, character redesigns after time skips, or, like, at least they feel incongruent to me. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood had pretty good ones of the boys just chilling in the country, and their hair got longer. Well, Al cut his, but you know what I mean. To show the time has passed, Edward's ponytail is longer now. But these were all spot the fuck on. And Kipo's was probably my favorite.
Kipo looked great.
Kipo looked fucking fantastic. I am here for 18-year-old Kipo. Same with Wolf. She's got her little flannel. I like that little silhouette callback. To her wolf coat, which we need to talk about Greta. And Greta making Wolf realize that she was dealing with some shit. And the Bensterant.
The Bensterant is so good.
Is Troy and Benson started a restaurant together, and because not only did they kiss in this children's show, which
full on straight. That was, I think, it's probably the only kiss besides maybe like Leo and Song. Like it's the only like actual like romantic kiss that happens in the whole show, and it's between two young queer people.
Of color,
boys specifically, yeah.
Yeah, and also Troy, supportive boyfriend Troy, where he got really mad about the pancake incident.
Mm-hmm.
For Benson, incredible. But yeah, they like, again, epilogues can be so hit or miss sometimes, but it was just so satisfying to see them like building a life together. Same with Wolf being just like a dog trainer, I guess.
Yeah,
and
just like leader of the pack.
Kipo just looking cool. It was nice to see all the families. I think all the arcs wrapped up really nicely. I think everyone had like a good solid character progression. You got to see everyone evolve and relate, and I don't know, grow to be like a real family. And I think that the thing that helped that was Leo kind of adopted all of these children. Like, he had a dad moment with pretty much all of them. Him and Wolf walking off when Song and Kipo needed to have a moment going, come on, we need to talk. And then they just go, okay, now laugh. Ha!
Or like
great.
Him and Dave, where they're just like have a boys' night to distract Leo from like the fact that his daughter's on like a deadly mission. They just like drink a lot of soda and get extremely hyper.
And go steal Molly's axes with Yum Yum.
Oh yeah, and then Dave is just like, man, Molly was real mad. She killed me 5 times.
Yeah, and he coached Benson on how to ask Troy out to prom. So yeah, I think it was just a real sweet found family moment. It was nice. I liked it a lot. I also like Kipo cheering on her mom doing science.
Yeah, just like in front of a chalkboard doing equations, and she's like, I just don't want to let Kipo down. And then the camera pans over to her shoulder, and it's just Kipo and Wolf sitting 6 feet behind her, just going like, you can do it, Mom! And then Wolf's like, "Is this what you thought having a mom would be like?" And she's like, yeah, basically." And Wolf's like, yeah, I guess
I'm
that
pretty
figures for you."
I'm pretty sure there's a dream sequence that directly mirrors this moment. I could be wrong, but I'm like pretty sure in a previous season. But yeah, how did you feel about all of it? Like, were you satisfied?
I mean, yeah, no, I think they all end pretty satisfactorily. I mean, I think all the characters are in the right place where they probably should end up. Um, I think that Wolf's story arc is probably, besides Kipo's, the most effective in this season. Because we do get like that beginning where, because Wolf meets up with her old sister who betrayed her when she used to be raised by wolves, and like she has to go through her own processing of her feelings about how she was let go from her family, and had to fend for herself, and realizes that like the fact that Greta points this out, the fact that she wears a wolf skin like makes her feel like she blends in, like straddling the line between mutant and human, because she can never really fit in with either. And then like she has that big reveal that she's like, hey, the reason that you're doing that is because you can't trust anyone. That's how you feel like that, because of your own personal problems. And Wolf has to come to grips with the fact that, like, yeah, she is kind of closed off, and she has to deal with her own trauma, and that's very important. And also she reciprocates that revelation by being like, hey, Greta, you're smart. I know that Dr. Amelia says you're not smart, but you're actually smart, and I think that's nice. And then Greta's like, oh, really? Okay. And I thought that's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, justice for Greta. Second of all, yeah, 'cause she says something along the lines of like, okay, are you doing what you want to be doing, or are you just doing what Amelia is doing? And she's like, or no, sorry, no, that was Zane. God, Zane and Label.
Zane. Zane Label.
Zane and Label just give me so much energy. With their fucking workout routine. Yeah, no, she asks, Amelia, she basically insinuates that Amelia just keeps calling her stupid so that Greta doesn't think she's smart enough to make her own decisions, but she actually is, and she should make her own decisions, which just buoys me that the catalyst in Greta coming over to the mute side, or to Hamufa, is Hamufafa is they do offer her pancakes. And that's really all it takes.
Scarlemagne and Wolf are like, all right, we got to figure out how to make you talk. And then Scarlemagne's like, what if I just mind controlled her? And then Wolf's like, no, you told Kipo not. And they're like, well, I guess pancakes are the only option. And it works extremely well, which I thought was nice. Before we talk about anything else, I feel like we should talk about Yumyan real quick. So that is the point at which I texted you last night. I was watching this in preparation for it, and episode 4, they have this confrontation with Amelia because Amelia's captured Wolf and Benson and Dave, and like they're doing this like fucking computer simulation with the tardigrade Mulholland, like he's running them through this dream sequence in Kipo's mind for how she can defeat Amelia in this no-win situation where her friends are held hostage. And Kipo just is just like, all right, well, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this, but here we go. And she goes into this situation, and she manages to save all her friends from Dr. Amelia without getting a cure dart shot at her. But then we just like see like the cure dart like bounces off of something, and it like spins in the air. And I was like, and it like comes down. The camera like shows it like spinning towards Yumyan, and I was like, oh no, did they get Yumyan? And then like it just started, Yumyan just started like walking very slowly, and he's just like, oh, and you could just like tell, and you're just like, oh no, this is the point. This is the point where they get Yumyan. And then like the whole backstory in that episode was Leo, or not Leo, Song and Scarlemagne trying to figure out how to communicate. And Scarlemagne was like, okay, I'll help you communicate, but you have to do a favor for me. And she's like, okay, whatever. And at the end, we get this shot of Scarlemagne playing his piano because he was mad that he could only hear the banjo music. And he's playing a piano cover of the Yumyan Hammerpaw song as Yumyan like slowly fades from sentience. I fucking bawled. It was like 8 a.m, and I was just weeping at my computer, just like, oh my god.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that was the first moment I like teared up. And then the thing that got me next is so like Emilia, her whole thing is she wants to like cure, quote unquote, cure these mutes to being animals again, and so she gets Yum Yum's the first one, and then there's like this big attack on the camp, on the Hamufa camp, and first of all, one of the funniest fucking lines is Jamak talking about Death Ivy, going, yeah, if you touch it, it'll kill you to death or something.
Yeah.
It's really good. It gave me a little belly laugh right before, like, the most emotionally draining episode. But so, like, a lot of mutes got, like, Camille gets got, a lot of named mutes who had, like, plot points in this season. Camille gets got, and a few others, but the one that really made me upset was Brad of Ratland. At one point, Amy tries to make him a little Ratland called Bradland, and then she just goes, but it turned out like Sadland, and I got so sad for her. And then she just carries Brad around the rest of the season, and she comes to prom, and she's like, I'm not here to reconcile. I want them to see what they did to Brad. Literally tearing up talking about it right now. It was so sad, and she like keeps carrying Brad around until the humans all save the mutes from the cure fireworks. And only then does she come around to like reconciling with people. But like, holy shit, this show's for 7-year-olds.
And I think that's an important point, because like even after the time skip, even after the whole conflict is over, the people who are cured don't get uncured. They're gone. Like, this show doesn't pull any punches. Like, it doesn't bring people back from the dead or, you know, restore them to their former selves. They're just fucking gone. And, like, I think that's an incredibly smart choice, just to be like, yeah, I mean, there are stakes in this program, and, like, the actions have consequences. And, like, this is, you know, a lot of, like, programming that at least I would have watched when I was younger would have had, you know, the vaccine or whatever, be able to turn them back into their regular selves or something.
Well,
but, like,
how many times does Goku come back from the dead?
Yeah, I mean, like anime, right? Like, Goku literally, in the first 3 episodes of Dragon Ball Z, dies and goes to heaven. Like...
And then it's like, hey, don't revive me for a year.
Yeah, like, I mean, resurrection is such a common trope in all sorts of media. There's prominent religions based around resurrection. Like, but the fact that, like, this show was willing to be like, no, we're not bringing people back, I think is heartbreaking, because I really wish Brad and Yum Yum had been able to be part of the great new, you know, mutant Hamufa joint. But, like, you know, this was a war, and wars, you know, have cost, and I think it was just brilliant. Sad, and I'm I'm like genuinely still very upset about Yum Yum. Like, God, the fact that like these, I don't know why this of all programs hit me so hard. Like, we just talked about the Burning God, and I was like very upset about the Burning God, but like, I don't know, maybe it was just because I could tell that Rin's story was one about like, you know, sadness and nobody was gonna have a happy ending. The fact that like this is a colorful, bright, fun show that's really funny and smart for kids has these like very tragic losses. Like maybe that's what I wasn't expecting, but like, I don't know, but like this, I think Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts is my favorite media I've consumed this year across the board, and probably top 5 of media I've ever consumed. If you take the whole series, all 3 seasons, probably one of my favorite media products ever. And it's just a lot to handle from a show that came out in 1 year and is aimed at 10-year-olds. Like,
yeah, it is quite a bit to handle. I don't know what it is about media aimed at children. I think maybe because it's less contrived than stuff that's aimed for adults. Like, again, we always come back to the Burning God because, I mean, like, it is a story that sticks to your bones a bit, right? But the thing about it that is, there's a lot of mechanics to it. You know what I mean? Like, there's mechanics of war, there's strategy, there's a lot of, like, lore and things you have to really dig into, which isn't a bad thing. It's just kind of
well, it's like, yeah, like, it's the trappings of the fantasy genre, right? Especially epic fantasy, where you're getting, you know, all the troop movements and the stratagems and the logistics, and then all the weird details about how you're going to make your cool combat plan work, and the lore about your magic system. Like that's all part of the genre, and it's expected and it's good, and it I would not have that genre any other way. But also I think I don't know if this is where you're going with this, but I feel like Kipo is able to get away from all those extra trappings and really like nail down the story.
Yeah, I think that's true of like a lot of media aimed at children. I'm willing to go pretty broad with that statement, just because like She-Ra kind of did the same thing too, right? Like it's also like a pretty epic high fantasy show, but again aimed at children, and there's a lot of lore, there's a lot of stuff happening, but I mean it's not like we're talking troop movements, you know what I mean? So there's not a lot of things to get lost in, and you can just kind of spend time with the characters. And it goes all the way back to, I don't know if you remember, but when we read Prince and the Dressmaker, there's that note in the back where she said that like teens just feel things at a heightened level. And I think like really, really good writers and really good showrunners like Rad Seacrest and like Noelle Stevenson, they can just take that and bottle it and throw it at you. And you can just kind of relive being a teen where everything feels super, super, super intense all the time. So, and also children's media isn't like cynical usually, and cynicism tends to like, I don't know, dampen emotion sometimes.
It definitely dampens my enjoyment of things, I guess. I hate I hate people who are like, oh, I'm cynical because I'm edgy, but like I mean, listen, if you've been living in the past 10 years, like you probably have gotten considerably more cynical about everything, and it is just kind of nice to engage with the work of media that is like idealistic and hopeful, even though there are bad things that happen in it.
Yeah, and I mean it's realistically hopeful of the human condition, right? So like we talked about, like Amelia's not a redeemable person. No matter how much Kipo tries, and even Kipo has to acknowledge at the end that like, yeah, she tried to stab me with glass after I saved her, so like, I might be beyond even Hamufa. But on the other hand, Scarlemagne gets to go out on his own terms, which, man, you want to talk about crying? When I found out that the entire narration of the epilogue was Kipo filling in Scarlemagne on what's happened over the last year, and it was his birthday, I mean, you saw my notes. I was bawling, like, it was 5:00 in the morning. I was emotional. I was tired and sad, and like, I had meant to watch one episode, and I ended up watching 6. So like, oh man, Scarlemagne, leave my sister alone, hurt so bad.
It was that one, yeah. I haven't even thought about Scarlemagne, because like that's his whole arc here is like, I bring up the example of Zuko in Avatar, right? The person who does bad and has to go through a whole, several season arc of redemption. And I think that Scarlemagne does something similar in less time. I still think it's very effective, because we do get to spend a lot of time with him, and we see how he grows, and originally he's like, yeah, I'm not sorry. I could just say I'm sorry, but I'm not. And he slowly learns to actually recognize that Kipo's dream is good, and recognize that what he really wanted was a family. And like in the end, right, there's like two very important moments. The first is when those fireworks with the cure go off, and Leo and Song shield him with a blanket like they used to when he was a little baby mandrill. Like they cover him with a blanket and protect him from being cured. And it's that moment where he's like, oh, I've had my family with me the whole time, and now I have to make sure that they're protected. And he takes his fucking twin-headed flamingo convertible and drives it into Emilia's face, basically killing him. But he does have one final moment with Leo and Song and Kipo, and they're all together. And she's just like, Scarlemagne, I'm so sorry. And he's like, call me Hugo. And I was just like, oh, I'm actually crying right now.
Yeah, I have tears in my eyes. It's
fuck me.
Oh man, I don't know. It made me so. Redemption arcs are really hard. It is really hard to make them effective, and like Zuko is one of the most famously referenced ones because it takes him a long time to come around. And like that's the thing about Scarlemagne. It takes him a long time to come around, but also at the end at prom, he apologizes of his own volition. He apologizes in a real way, where not by telling a convoluted metaphor about a summer. When Label comes to his fucking cave, I'm like laughing and crying at the same time. He tells us, like, the first time he apologizes, he tells this stupid metaphor about a summer storm. Like, I couldn't even follow it. And Kipo takes it back to his, like, enclosure, and Label just shows up and throws himself against it and goes, "Were you the storm?" It made me laugh so hard. Label and Doug truly stole every comedic beat in this. It was they're so fucking funny. And Zane also very good. But, like, yeah, it's just, we got to spend, like, a season with Scarlemagne in isolation, and because he's, like, in an enclosure, nobody trusts him to not, be evil. And also there's always a visual reminder of what he did, because Song's hand is covered in gold. So you never get to forget what happened at Orem. And, I don't know, him and Wolf start bonding, and he starts talking about, like, you gotta protect Kipo from herself, and, it becomes about protecting his sister, and less about how vindictive he is about, one, the fact that she was born, and two, about what happened with his adoptive parents, and he just literally sacrifices himself. And it paints such a stark contrast because him and Amelia's irredeemable, but Scarlemagne did some fucked up shit too, in a way where, like, he would have to reckon with the things that he did for the rest of his life. So it is sad that he died, but he got to choose to make the ultimate sacrifice because he gave up his quest for power. And that is just just like from a writing standpoint, just such like a wonderful resolution and such a wonderful contrast to what happened with Amelia and how she clung to power and life till the very end. And, you could talk about how pride and greed and power are, like, the source of all evil, especially in a universe that doesn't really do, like, money. But damn, did I cry from that moment to... Not since The Lion King, like, watching The Lion King probably for the first time, did I wish for a dead character to get up and to, like, pull through at the last second. Like, oh man, I'm so sad. It was so good. It was such a well put together moment.
I mean, going off that, like, I was thinking, because, like, I mean, you do a webcomic, and Kipo actually originated as a webcomic. Rad Seacrest, started this as a webcomic, and it got turned into this show. Yeah, I mean, like, is this something that, like, as a creator, like, would you ever want to do something in the Kipo universe? Because, my thoughts are, like, I think everything ended so well for what the story was trying to go for that, like, sort of, messing around any further would be like treading on holy ground, basically. Like, we don't want to go back and mess with the universe, because, like, if it ended on a satisfactory note and, everybody ends up where they're supposed to be, like, I would really hate for anything to, like, impair that.
Have I ever talked to you about the Broadway adaptation of Anastasia, the 1991 Don Bluth film?
No.
Okay, so if you try to find the Anastasia soundtrack on Spotify, you can't. But what you can find is the Anastasia soundtrack as adapted for Broadway, the original cast recording, or the original Broadway recording, sorry. They are different. And we all know Anastasia, the 1991 Fox Don Bluth film, before, Disney had a complete monopoly on everything. And that in itself plays with history. By plays, I mean it is super wrong about everything. But it is its own thing, and it is memorable, and it is, people are still nostalgic for it. I'm constantly nostalgic for it. I rewatch it all the time in the dark of the night to bop. A couple of years ago, the name of the composer, Stephen Flaherty, and, some stage writers and whatever other ensemble I didn't really I'm not too familiar with the history of the show, but they decided to adapt Anastasia for Broadway, which Anastasia, if you take your nostalgia goggles off for like 1 second, is not actually a good musical. There's 4 songs in the beginning and they never sing again. So what they did was they took Anastasia and they said, hey, what if we made it about the revolution? And they added like a whole new villain. They took away Rasputin. They added like 7 new songs. In the Dark of the Night got cut completely, but the melody of In the Dark of the Night is now a part of a song called Stay I Pray You, which makes me cry all the time because it's about leaving Russia. And it's just this whole thing. Anastasia's big last stand is with this character whose name escapes me because I truly don't care about him. But yeah, I listened to it the first time. I saw it live. I saw it performed when it toured through Austin. And it isn't a bad musical. If this is your introduction to the world of Anastasia, I think it's fine. Kirstie Alley does a really good job. It's a good show. But the thing about it that I walked away with, and that, when you walk out, you have conversations with your friends about what you just experienced together. The thing I was talking to my friend about was, if they wanted to write a show about the revolution, they should have just written a show about the revolution. So I feel like Kipo is such a perfect little parcel. Like, I agree with you. I think it is kind of treading on holy ground. That you playing in the world invites, not that you couldn't do it or do it well, but I would be afraid that it would invite expounding on like the darker parts of it in a way that doesn't necessarily follow the messaging of the original show, which is very specific. And I guess that's the thing about children's media is like, we could, R.F. Kuang herself has written stories from the point of view of Neja in the world of the Poppy War. But there's a lot to do there. There's like a very broad infrastructure. Kipo and a lot of children's media don't have that infrastructure because they're so loose with the lore. So there's just a lot of room for interpretation. And listen, as somebody who has seen some spinoffs, interpretation is not always a good thing. So, I would be nervous about it if, that being said, something more expository or something like a wolf backstory movie, I think that's different. But going into the future with it would make me very nervous. I know you mentioned you would want to work in something similar. Was there something you specifically wanted to see expanded, or is it just kind of like a world you want to play in? And if so, like what are the elements of the world that like really appeal to you?
I think just that the idea of like, well, firstly, there's like weird, like creatures, right? I love shit like that. Like there's a fucking yeah. There's like a mutant sea cucumber at one point that's not even in the show for 5 seconds, but it still ruled so much that I had to write it down. So I love the monster design. I just really like the idea of like sort of like a lighthearted apocalypse, right? It's not Fallout or Mad Max. It's just like people kind of getting by in this new world and trying to make a nice community. And like I don't know, I think it's just the colorful, fun songs and incredibly funny jokes. Right, that's the thing. I like if I was gonna work in anything in this, it would be writing, and like I don't have any sort of creative talents beyond writing. So like, I think that's a huge portion of Kipo is the music and the visual design that make it so appealing. And I think that's hard to capture that in only written word. So, I don't know that I would want to take a stab at it unless I had like a whole fucking team of artists and musicians at my back. But I do think it would be just interesting. I don't know. Like we just keep saying, like it seems wrong to try to go forward, but there is just a selfish part of me that's like, I want to hang out with Kipo and Benson and Wolf and Dave and Jamak and Yonsu some more. Like, I just want to see these characters more because they make me happy. But all good stories have to come to an end, and generally, the sooner the better is truism that holds.
Yeah, God, you definitely don't want to drag something out. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the supernatural discourse.
Oh my God, yeah.
Y'all, I don't know shit about Supernatural. I just know I've been following the memes, and sometimes I can't tell what's real and what's not. And sometimes the things I think are fake, like the Impala going to heaven, are real.
Yeah. And also the fact that fucking the Dusty person, who got sent to Turbo Hell, like there
For
was the
being
whole
gay, yep.
yeah. Apparently the Spanish cut had the love reciprocated, but apparently the fucking U.S. censors got to it or some shit.
Oh, apparently, I've heard it compared to the Electoral College coming in, because every country has its own dub, and in every country it's reciprocated. But also, oh my god, what was it? There was, Misha Collins tweeted something where he was like, I thought it was fine. And then people yelled at him, and he was like, maybe I should just listen. And like, holy shit, y'all, what is happening? 15 seasons. I got on Tumblr in 2008, and that show, people were horny for Dean and Cass. And I had to endure Super Hulock. I had to endure Misha Apocalypse. I had to endure all this shit on that goddamn website that I still use. And like, the funniest thing I heard is that my neighbor's friend apparently was like, the Impala going to heaven is what started the Catholic canon in the Cars universe.
All right, nope. That's my new work. I want to start writing about the crusades that happened in the Cars universe. Disney Pixar, get at me, because that's all I'm gonna think about for the rest of my life.
It's just so funny. Also, apparently, Dean got by a fucking screw in a vampire juggalo barn. I don't know if that's real. I know the screw part is. I don't know about the vampire juggalos, but also apparently...
Leyla, if I was your grandchild, I would have you rush to an ER right now, because it sounds like you're having a delirium-induced hallucination. What the fuck are you talking about?
Castile apparently, speaking of resurrections, everyone in this show's died a billion times. Apparently at one point Dean died, and Castiel the Angel brought him back, but he brought him back, like, fresh? Like, unvaccinated.
Fresh?
Unvaccinated, on everything. Just a new human body. And so the fans were like, wait, so is that what killed him because of the tetanus? Because he wasn't vaccinated? Guys, end your stories.
I'm begging you. 5 seasons max, please.
But also, listeners, I know there's not a ton of you, but mortifiedpod@gmail.com. If any of you can walk me through point by point what the fuck happened in the last 3 episodes of this television show, just summarize it for me. I don't know, I'll send you a sketch. If you give me your mailing address, I'll send you an Amazon gift card. Like, guys, end your shows. Just end them. Oh my god. Oh. Media shot it. People were saying this was worse than the Game of Thrones finale. Like, how? Homophobia wins. Really. Homophobia. She wins.
I wish that I was in a position to make incredibly bad television for millions of people. That sounds like the dream.
Oh my god, I would literally... Give me just like a horrible mishmash of a franchise to make a mess out of. I will throw spaghetti at the wall for as long as that spaghetti is funded by Viacom. Like, we would have so much fun. Why can't we... Let's do that. Let's send people this podcast and be like, hey, do you want another Supernatural? We got a wealth of knowledge about dumb bullshit. One of us is gay and brown, so you get brownie points for that. The other one is straight and brown, so you get some brownie points for that. And you can pay us white people money to fuck things up. And I think we could make a living off of that.
That sounds great. You know, Dreamworks, Cartoon Network, Toei Animation, hit us up.
Peacock,
for fucking crying out loud. Yeah, I'll take whoever.
Showtime? Hey, Showtime. Come on, Showtime. Hit us up. No, for real. I wish we were in the position to to just pull a supernatural, or be Benioff and Weiss, the writers of Game of Thrones, who spectacularly fucked up a franchise and then are writing that like Chinese fantasy, the name of which escapes me. Did you hear about that bullshit?
No, what?
They're writing some like Chinese epic that's being adapted for television, which they're neither Chinese nor good writers, so
Yeah, that seems
what's
bad.
up?
That's another thing Kipo does great, is that all the voice actors are the actual races of the people that they're portraying, which fucking slaps. Like, I looked up the guy who plays Young Soo, and he's Korean. It's just so nice. There was recently a big debacle over at Fireside Fiction because they had a white man do a narration for a black woman character, and like he apparently pronounced Atlanta extremely racistly.
Whoa. Boise, Idaho.
Y'all, just
what is that movie where the white dude pretends to be a black woman to be a radio host? Hold on, I'm gonna find it. LaQuisha.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Film made last year in the year
last
year LaQuisha came out, and it is about a white man pretending to be a black woman so that he could get a radio show. And I watched a video on this shit, not the movie itself, because why would I put myself through that? But apparently the whole thing ends in like people should have the same opportunities regardless of their race, but because it's coming from the point of view of a white man, it's just basically anti-affirmative action. I'm like, what? 2019? We're doing this? It has 1 star on IMDb, which I think is very funny.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, so cast your voices appropriately. I think that's very important, because then you won't pronounce Atlanta racist. Hire people of color to be on your design staff and in your positions of leadership, and then make more Kipos. Make more tight, not condescending to its audience, well-written, like musically driven, fun shows about serious topics. Like, give us, because life is weird and sometimes funny and involves obelisks in Utah, so just like let your media reflect that.
Oh my god. Wow, we were really winding down, and then we took the supernatural off-ramp into Turbo Hell for a second.
I'm always in Turbo Hell when I think about that show.
Jesus Christ.
Why do I know so much about it? I've never seen an episode. Not one episode of this show.
Oh my lord.
Except I know that Jared Padalecki lives in this city. That's it. That's all I know. No, the other one. I don't care. But one of them is here. So,
okay.
Anyway, watch Kipo in the Age of Wonderbeasts. Aaron, where can people find you?
Oh my god. Jeez. People can find me on the internet at AaronSXL on Twitter. You can also listen to my other podcast at MBF and Me. The day that this goes up, our episode on, I want to say it was the short one, I'm in Love with a Church Girl, goes up. It's extremely funny, despite the fact that we didn't talk about the show at all because the show's so fucking bad. Yeah, I highly recommend that you watch that. And also, Michael thankfully has taken over editing privileges to that show, so he's also going to edit the 2 hours we spent talking with our Mormon friend about what's it called, Latter Days, which was wild. So yeah, look out for those. Leyla, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, Boise, Idaho. I'm at LEYLSAS on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram. You can read my essays at leilamamedova.com/blog. It is almost December, which means I'm either going to put up a Why I Love Studio Trigger diatribe, or my Feminism and Legally Blonde essay about how the musical handles womanhood and how the show or the movie handles it. And also my comic is coming back in the next couple of weeks, AsherHeartComic.com. You can go read it. If you also want to talk about inherited trauma and the cycles of emotional pressure and abuse. Anyway, we don't know what we're doing the next couple of weeks. We gotta kind of revisit our plan for December.
Michael is available to record next Sunday if we want to do that at
perfect.
Yeah, earlier. So
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah, my cat was sick, so a lot of our planning has been kind of thrown for a loop. But we will be taking a week or two off in December for the winter holidays. We will come back at you with an itinerary in the newsletter that you're going to sign up for after you're finished listening to this episode, the link to which is in our show notes. Aaron, you want to take us out on quote?
Real quick, I just want to plug one more thing. Our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. You can find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Yes, Leyla, I will take us out on a quote remembering our favorite lumber cat. Like he always used to say, Yum yin yo fuck. Yum yin loans you yard. Oh, I'm gonna miss that guy.